Welcome to Forest Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode, we're talking with Erik Mellegers about being a commentator. Erik started commentating at mountain biking and multi-sport events about 10 years ago. Welcome to Forest Chat, Erik.
Hello, Paul, and welcome everyone. Great to be here. This is a bit different for me.
It's great to have you here. You're used to speaking to groups of people, but not in this format.
No, not one-on-one, but to whoever is out there listening as well, and without the atmosphere around me. So great to be here, and a very different format, of course, but obviously still public speaking in some way. So it is good to be here.
Erik, so the first question I ask people is, what is it that you do? So we're talking about commentary here.
Yeah. So I do a couple of different things. Commentary is one of them. Love doing it, and probably one of the things that I really love about it is my life has been exceptionally busy on a number of levels for a long time, and I used to race competitively, mountain biking and road, and really enjoyed it. Obviously, it takes a lot of hours for training, and as life progressed, it was a great way to stay in touch with the guys and girls that I raced with and the events, and it was just awesome. It's always a big joke that I still am involved in cycling. I just don't have to train as hard as everyone else that's there.
There's still a lot of training. I mean, we've been watching the Tour de France, and those guys know their stuff.
From that perspective, and it is quite interesting. So people like Matt Keenan and one of the guys I work with locally, Jethro Nagel, they are just encyclopedias of knowledge on the riders and when they started and what they've won and all this stuff. And I am absolutely terrible at that. I actually even am terrible with remembering names. So big contrast for me. It's more being there and enthusiasm and encouraging people on. I do generally have an iPad that when they cross, or a tablet, when they cross the line, I know their name, and get to congratulate them on whatever distance they've raced and their time. And when I'm doing interviews, I normally have a clipboard, and on the front, the night before, I'll handwrite in the columns who the sponsors are and any things that I need to know. And then during the day, as people win, cross the line, I'll have my pen and write down names that I need to try and remember, particularly doing interviews. And often doing interviews, even if I know them really well, I have mind blanks now and again. So I'm sort of a bit of a contradiction in terms when it comes to commentary and emceeing, because my memory is shot when it comes to people. Always has been, always struggled. And sometimes I'll be looking at someone doing an interview and I will glance down just to remember their name, look back up, and then later it's like, could you not remember my name? I'm like, mate, I've got so many names going on inside my head because I've just called 658 people across the line, and I don't know, people say your biggest strength is your biggest weakness, so I'm not quite sure what the strength is there. Maybe that I can sort of rescue myself while I'm commentating in a difficult situation and talk my way out of it, but yeah, I don't know. You find ways to deal with it.
Yeah, you absolutely do. So when we're talking about commentating at events, where does the commentary go to?
So most events, the commentary is just live. So one part of what I do, and probably why I get quite a few commentary jobs, is I grew up being interested in electronics and audio and car stereo, and that sort of rolled into professional PA gear. And if you put me in front of a band and got me to plug the whole band in, I definitely couldn't make them sound as good as a professional sound engineer, but I know my way around it. And for commentating, really, it is a bit of background music and then set up the speakers in a way that it's going to sound good across the venue. And I've used a heap of different gear over the years, and I have a storeroom with stuff that I've bought and tried that hasn't worked as well, and other stuff where I've then bought 10 more of the same speaker, for example, and works really well. So a lot of my jobs involve coming in the day before, setting up PA gear, get up early in the morning, finish setting that up, do emceeing, commentating all day, and then packing up the end of the day. And so it's a bit of a package deal when you get an Erik at your event. So that works well for an event. teams, event organisers, and as far as where the actual commentary goes, normally it's just at the venue itself. There's a few bigger events like the Dwelling Up 100, particularly when that was the World Masters Mountain Bike Marathon Champs, that they were streaming that live. They had videos of the finish line and people crossing the finish line, and my commentary would get overlaid on that. There's probably a few other events I've done that's happened, but generally it is just to those people there, which is awesome. You make these connections, and you see people all around the place outside of events. They're like, Erik, great to see you. And I'm like, hi, mate.
But I don't have my clipboard with me.
Yeah, I don't have my clipboard. I recognise your face, and I've seen you at 16 different events over the last 5 years. But yeah, mate, buddy, pal. So yeah, my secret's out. Everyone thinks I'm really good at names. It's that tablet that I get at the start-finish line. And some events are really good, and they'll actually have the name, if they register early enough, they'll have their name printed on their race number plate on the front of their bike. So that always is very helpful.
Gold, actually.
It is, yes.
So, Erik, you've already given us a little bit of an idea of what it takes you to do this. So you've talked about some background with the audio side of things, the equipment side of things, and you come into it from a competitor side of things. I guess that's given you a pretty good understanding of who's who in the competition zoo.
Yeah, for the elite riders, quite interestingly, I haven't watched the Tour de France for a few years because life's been nuts. And I turned it on last night or the last couple of nights, and been watching the highlights for the first time in a long time. And there's about 4 riders whose names I recognise, and everyone else is all new to me. So from a international perspective, I'm definitely not on top of the game. But in WA, there's the riders that turn up to all the events, whether it's a road race or a mountain bike race or a gravel race. And I know lots of the guys and girls. I can't always remember their name straight away, which is horrible, as I said. But it is really good. And probably the other thing, particularly in the early days, was the racing, the tactics and how it's raced and conserving your energy and where to attack and things like that. So having that insight into what it's like being one of the elite riders and that mental, the mental games you play out there, because your fitness for most of the elite guys is very similar, and it's where you attack, it's how you race, it's how you show that you're probably stronger than what you're feeling at the time, and all of that sort of stuff. So you do get to talk about that, particularly at some of the really big mass participation events like the Dwelling Up 100 or Cape to Cape, where most of the people doing it really are weekend warriors. They're having a bit of fun, and they want to hear that stuff about what goes on at the pointy end of the race, what it's like to be an elite racer, what it's like to train, nutrition, technical setup with the bike and all of that sort of stuff. So it's really cool to talk about that sort of stuff with everyone that is there. And then at other times it's about little Jimmy, and he's conquered the 14-kilometre ride, and having a chat with him and his mum. So there's really finding that really wide range of stuff that people can relate to, and at the end of the day, that's what it is. I'm standing up there talking about stuff. Most of the time, for most people, it's background noise, and I've heard people say they haven't been to an event before. As soon as they've rocked up, open the car doors, they hear my voice. It's like, this is going to be a good day. It's everything works out, which is lovely. Really, really nice to hear.
Absolutely. Do you actually do much research in between events? Like, do you actually have a look at courses and that sort of stuff?
In the early days, 100%, I did a lot of that sort of work. And I remember at Tour of Margaret River when we used to have Robbie McEwen and Matt Keenan come along and commentate along with some of the other elite riders. Simon Gerrans was there, Simon Clark, and Luke Durbidge, and a few other people jumped on the microphone outside of Robbie and Matt. But I remember a lot of the years I would actually do like a huge folder for them with all the details and sponsors and what to say. I put an amazing amount of work into that, and really it hardly ever got used. most of them sort of make it up as they go, and a lot of it is about those little stories. The night before any of the events, I will sit down and look through the rider manual and the website and get the details of the sponsors, the course distances, elevation, and write down all those key things on my one bit of paper. A few people have suggested that they've seen the bit of paper. They're like, wow, you need to frame some of those and hang them up. It's just the way my brain works. It's sort of a reflection of that, apparently. So, yes, I think in the early days you do a lot of that. And I know Jethro Nagel, who does a lot of commentary as well, and he's working hard to, like, he runs a podcast and videos and whatnot with Tom McCracken, and he does really well. And his aim is actually to get to SBS and those sort of things. And he is incredible with names, incredible. Like, he's a mini clone of Matt Keenan as far as remembering things, remembering all those details. It's just incredible, and I love it. And his delivery now is getting a lot more natural, and fantastic to see him grow and develop. And I hope he gets to that level. As for myself, just being incredibly time poor and not having time to follow everything and live that whole cycling community at the moment. Look, I feel that I underperform in some ways as far as the knowledge part goes, but the charisma and being a bit of a larrikin definitely seems to carry me through, and everyone's happy with what I do most of the time. Now and again, there's a grey line between making people laugh and upsetting people, and on a few occasions I have stepped over that line a little bit. But I avoid doing that, obviously, because that's no good for anyone.
Yeah, it can be quite sensitive when you've just finished the biggest event of your life, and you feel like what the commentator said about you is a little bit under what you thought you'd done. I'm sure that comes up.
Probably the worst recent one was presentations for the Seven Gravel race, and there's these super vets. They're like in their late 70s and 80s, and they're coming up on stage, and we're congratulating them and telling them how amazing they are. And to be funny, I thought I'd quip. Once they've got their medals and everything else and all the accolades, they can enjoy going back to the nursing home and get a bit of a massage and a sauna back at the nursing home or something along those lines. A few people thought that was funny, but a few people thought the real political correct people were like, ooh. Most of the old boys had a bit of a laugh. One of them was probably a bit more serious than what I expected, and probably in hindsight wouldn't have used that quip in that particular moment. And I think that was being streamed live around the world as well. So, look,
perfect.
As a commentator, you do put your foot in it. And I've got a few examples similar to that. Sometimes you say things that you shouldn't. Sometimes you get away with it, and it is seriously just background noise and no one's heard you. Other times where it is on a stage at presentations, you have everyone's attention, and if you put your foot in it, people notice, and sometimes there's no way to backpedal out of it. You do need to be mindful. And at some events, after working for 4 days straight, say Cape to Cape or Tour of Margaret River, which by the end of it, you're just absolutely stuffed. You've been setting up PA gear, pulling it down every day, moving around, travelling, not sleeping great. Yes, sometimes being fatigued doesn't help in that endeavour.
But then you also have the character that pulls you through sometimes.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and people tend to be quite forgiving, and I think if I suppose I stepped up, and that was the first event that I'd ever done, and put my foot in it, there'd be people that are like, wow, that's horrible. But then people that have heard me commentating for the better part of 10 years, they're like, oh, that's Erik, and he's just found that grey patch again and sinking in the mud and digging a hole, which doesn't happen often. And they, I think they appreciate it for what it is. And definitely know that I have no mean intent in any of that sort of stuff that I say, just because they know my character and how I go about things and carry myself.
That's good to have people who know you like that,
It
you
is
know.
handy. Yep, definitely a bit of forgiveness. Probably one interesting thing about me is I'm actually an introvert. And as a kid, I was very shy. I was fairly softly spoken. And then I suppose I almost found this other, not persona, but it's definitely, how do I explain it? You put me in a crowded room with lots of people, I'm generally not that comfortable. You put me one on one with people, even in a crowd, like I'll find one or two people and hang out with them, I'm fine. Big crowd of people, if don't know anyone and trying to sort of have a chat or make small talk, horrible at it. I'd rather just go to the buffet and just stuff my face. With commentary, it's quite interesting because you're not feeling like you're talking to 1,000 people, and you're not expecting to do that small talk and how's the weather, how's your mum, how's your whatever else, and you actually just get to be sort of a solo person talking pretty much to themselves about whatever pops into your head that obviously is appropriate and to do relevant to the event. And you're sort of in your own little bubble, you're in your own little world, and now and again someone sort of walks into that bubble, or you learn. Obviously, people coming across the line, you have a quick chat with them. It's 30 seconds, a minute, and then you're off doing your next thing. So there's definitely no pressure as far as those deep emotional sort of connections and whatnot. And I suppose over time you do build those with certain riders. I've got a great relationship with a lot of riders out there that would see me in the street and have a chat. But it's quite interesting. It's like a holiday for me going to these events. Obviously working very hard, it's very tiring, but you're just in your own little world. I don't need to worry about any of my other businesses or what I'm doing, or like I don't. It's just like white noise, that I'm living in this white noise, and it's generally everyone's happy, and there's this atmosphere and there's stuff going on, and there's people running around doing stuff, and obviously riders and athletes and all the rest of it. And it's fantastic. Often coming home from events, especially when life has been tough over the years with whatever's going on in my life with business, and it's just like driving from the sunshine back into this grey cloud of life. So it's been a really good relief at times to be able to go to events and just, it's like standing under a shower with the water running over your ears, so you can't hear any of the other stuff going on in life. It's just you do the event thing and you're there, and you're just away from everything else. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's amazing you can get into a zone like that. Yeah, like when I've competed in like rally cars and things like that, there is nothing else except exactly
Yeah,
what's in front of you, and
exactly
away
right.
you go.
Yep, yep. And you're very busy trying to be organised and trying to sort of read the play of what's going on and where you need to be and who you're talking to or what people need to be aware of. And there's loads going on. So it's super exciting. And my son now, Frederick, who's 11 years old, he's been coming with me to most of the events I work at for the last year and a half or so. So he is slowly learning the trade of setting up and pulling down PA gear. He hasn't got on the microphone yet. He's a little bit shy for that. My younger one, my 7-year-old, he would happily stand in front of everyone and have a chat. So we'll see how that ends up going later on. Might have a sound engineer and a commentator to follow my footsteps yet.
That would be incredible to have your son there as co-commentating with you. That would be
Yeah, big
incredible.
goal. Yeah, normally Frederick, if there's a junior event, Frederick will get a ride or something like that. So during the day he'll head out. So he's definitely experiencing both sides of the event world and seems to be enjoying it.
at 11, you want to be out there doing stuff. So that sounds like a
Yes.
great time for him.
Yeah, and there's lots of opportunities come through that as well. The people he meets and the interactions he has, all these adult interactions with all these other people, and seeing people work and building a really good work ethic, and I suppose a very diverse outlook compared to every other child in his class. It's a very different life that he lives, and the opportunities he has are wide and varied, to say the least.
We've heard what it takes, Eric, to be a commentator at multi sport events. We'll have a break now, and after the break, we'll talk about what it means. We've heard what it takes, Eric, to be a commentator. Now, let's have a look at what it means. Eric, what does it mean to you, your family, or the community that you're able to be a commentator?
For me, it's a big thing. I suppose looking back when I was racing at an elite level, you sort of take for granted that people run events and put all this effort into you being able to go out and ride and race and be competitive and travel and do all that sort of stuff. So when I suppose I got married, had kids, then the training definitely slowed down, and life became very different. And it was it was interesting. The thing that got me into commentating in the first place was the Delirium 24-hour races that started about 10 years ago, around 2013, 2014. By that stage, I'd already run a race or two here in Collie, mountain bike races. I think one of them was raising money, might have been 2015, raising money for the fires in Northcliffe, and Curry Cup couldn't be run that year, so we ran a race here on the same date, and all the profits made went to the Northcliffe community, which was great to do. So I'd already had a bit of a dabble in that event space, but Delirium 24-hour race, and then not long after that, the Tour of Margaret River, which Brendan Morrison and Southwest Adventures were running. We were fairly close. So I was racing and riding with the Southwest Cycle Club, Road Club, and we had quite a bit to do with each other, and I ended up racing some of the Deliriums, and it was very quiet, very little atmosphere. I think they had some speakers and a bit of background noise going. So I'd done some public speaking previously, and I grabbed the microphone and basically just started commentating, started talking about the event, adding a bit of background to that, which I don't know, just naturally did. It was just what happened. I didn't really think about it, wasn't planned. And then from there, the Delirium events grew bigger and bigger. Tour of Margaret River obviously got very, very big, and just continued on working commentating, and then going through a heap of different PA gear and wireless microphones and stuff that works on a stage or in a pub doesn't always work when you're spread out across, you know, a 600-700 meter long event village type scenario. So a lot of playing around with the PA side of it, and then rolled into people asking me to come and do other events. And at the time, Tony Tucknott, mountain biker extraordinaire, and incredible guy, backbone of mountain biking WA for many years. He used to commentate the Dwelling Up 100 and also bits of the Cape to Cape, along with a few others. And as time went on, Tony was riding more or organising more the back end of the race. So then I got the call up to do some of those bigger races. And then in later years, also doing triathlons. I've done a Rottnest Channel swim as well, which was brilliant. And then helping MC some of the events for sort of end of season awards for different groups. So it's nice to give back as far as, I suppose, what it means to me. It's, for me, really, it's being involved. And a lot of those relationships are just really special. So a lot of the guys now that organise events or that are still racing, like I used to race with 10, 15 years ago. And it's nice staying in touch that way. You meet lots of people through events as well, and a lot of them are just superstars in their own right with different things they do or bring to the events. Even just families turning up, mum, dad, and the kids to rock up at a mountain bike race and do some of the shorter distance stuff. Like, it's just really cool. So it's really good to meet new people, which interestingly, as much as I'm an introvert, like I still really like building those relationships, those individual type relationships. To my family, my wife would probably appreciate me not being away every second or third weekend of the year, especially while our kids are a bit younger. So it's been a bit of a stress for my wife. Being able to take Frederick with me to events now definitely makes it easier for her. She's just got Thomas at home, the younger one, 7 years old. And I don't know, I suppose it's just part of what we do. She knows how much I love it and what it means to the cycling community as well, that I'm there doing that sort of thing. As far as what it means for the community, I suppose it goes back to what people have said in the past when they're at a new event. I'm there, I'm commentating away, they're like, oh, Erik's here, it must be a well-organised, well-run event. Generally, I won't rock up at something that's not well-organised and try, I suppose, don't let it damage your brand and whatnot, or if I do get involved, definitely I'm there to help put out spot fires and things that are going wrong. And that's more from a perspective of wanting those events to thrive and do well and build the community. And it's quite interesting talking about that, actually. Looking at eventers or event groups on the eastern seaboard, there's different event groups and they don't talk to each other, they don't get along, they're competitors in a business sense. Here in WA, so myself, obviously running this smaller mountain bike race, but then working for a heap of other events, Dave Budge and his team from the events team who run Dwelling Up 100 and then a heap of other multi-sport events and whatnot. Bill and Megan from Event Matrix, who have now bought Cape to Cape, and Tony Tucknock and Dave Budge do the Dwelling Up 100, and Brendan Morrison with Tour of Margaret River, plus then a few others that I'm missing. Like, we all talk, we all get along, particularly the mountain bike guys. We'll organise the annual calendar so we're not clashing, and then try and pull in some other stuff to make sure the gravel events don't clash as well. So we're all here. We go to each other's events. Well, I obviously go to everyone else's events where I work. But there's a big push on that side for everyone to work together, and it is, like talking about community, it is a community. We all sit down at those races and we'll have dinners together and talk about who's doing what well, what we can change, what we can improve, things that we need to talk to Cycle, the governing body, about, what we can work with shires, how do we go through planning, how to attract more sponsors, how can we make certain things work. And it's really cool because you get to put into that, but you get a lot back out of that as well. And WA is so far ahead when it comes to particularly cycling events because everyone works together, and the government is on board, particularly with mountain biking as well, with all the trail infrastructure they're putting out. Tourism WA has put a heap of money into the World Champs gravel event next year and the Seven event, obviously, in the lead up to it. So the government's on board there. The government have brought in the National Road Champs to WA. So there's so much going on in WA on all these different levels, everything from government through to club stuff. And Shire's getting involved, Splendid Park, north of Perth, Yanchep, the cycling criterium track up there. There's just all this infrastructure going in and all these levels of funding whatnot. So we'll talk about that sort of stuff and how we can leverage things and make the whole cycling community a better place. And then we sort of co-promote each other's events. I do a newsletter that in the last couple of years I've just put one together every couple of weeks on the run into my event. This coming year, I'm going to actually turn that into a fortnightly, monthly thing that we actually build this big following for this newsletter, and that then promotes essentially all the events that I work at and am involved with and know that they're a quality event and people are going to have a great time there. So I suppose that's a community thing. What difference does it make to people and what changes does it bring about? It's just that working together thing. The more people that are out cycling, mountain biking, outdoors, get kids off their devices, just the forests around, particularly the southwest, are incredible, and it's so varied. And this is one great thing. So my passion really is mountain biking, as much as I'm involved in road cycling and gravel and some multi-sport stuff. So where the government have funded all the different trails from the Perth Hills through Kalamunda, Jarradale, then Dwelling Up, Collie, Margaret River, Dunsborough, Nannup, Pemberton. They're working on some great southern stuff as well. Each one of those locations has a varied flavour in the way the trails are built, in the forest that's there, in the elevation, in the way the trail network is sort of linked together. You can actually have an event, at 5 or 6 different locations, and they're genuinely a different event. Riding in Nannup is vastly different to riding in Dunsborough, which is vastly different to riding through Dwelling Up, or Collie is the Arklow block, more sort of cross-country marathon. There's no massive hills. It's sort of rolling, old-school type stuff. And then at Wellington National Park, there's some incredible gravity trails, incredible views across the dam, the valleys. We live in an amazing state, and it's great getting people aware of what's out there. And we'd love, obviously, more people to ride mountain biking, not because we're in it for the money, but because it's great. The community is amazing in mountain biking. Almost everyone is super friendly. They're all there to help each other. It's hard to lose if you're going mountain biking, and it's one of the fastest growing recreational things in WA at the moment. It's great.
Even to the point where I've bought a bike some time ago now.
Yeah. And one of the things we do, so there's a group in Perth called Break the Boundary who get people, so for disabled people, particularly paraplegics, people without the use of their legs, and get them hiking or mountain biking or riding on an adaptive bike, essentially. So be it hiking or cycling, much the same. The rig's a little bit different. And WA government, again, has gotten on board with this. There's a number of adaptive-friendly trails around WA. Collie had one of the first ones with Arklow Adaptive, and there's a few other trails there that are friendly as well. So it's really great as going back to an event organiser now, being able to deliver an event that includes an adaptive option. And these guys and girls are absolute legends. They don't take themselves too seriously. We have a huge laugh. They won't get upset if I talk about them on the podium with having a nurse that wipes their bum or whatever else. They're just going to go with it. They are just, hilarious. Great to have dinner with. Done that a couple of times. But seeing Cape to Cape have an adaptive section, seeing obviously the gravel events, they all cater for the adaptives, the Collie Mountain Bike Marathon. I know Dwelling Up have been looking at different options as well. So, look, that whole inclusion, getting people out there and getting them to, not smell the roses, but smell the Jarrah forests and the Sherrock forests and the Carry and Marrie forest down in Northcliffe, Pemberton. It's just super.
Absolutely. It's amazing being out there, and I do concur with your thoughts about Arklow and Wellington. They're the only places I've actually been to ride, but the difference is pretty stark.
Yeah.
One's like on the side of the hill, and the other one's like much more, I'll say, approachable, but just you go further. You go further.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We've heard quite a nice amount about what it means to you, your family, and the community, Erik. Let's have another break, and after the break, we'll have a chat about how someone would get into commentating? We've had a look at how much it means to Erik that he's able to commentate. Now, let's have a look at how you could become a commentator too. Erik, if someone wanted to become a commentator, what would you suggest that they do?
The biggest thing is to not take yourself too seriously. If you're always second guessing what you're about to say or what you're talking about, or is it, mind you, if you struggle and don't have a filter between what's going on in your brain and your mouth, you're probably going to struggle regardless. But yeah, you want it to be natural. You want it like that you're just talking to a mate, having a bit of fun, telling them important things in a not too mundane way. Definitely work on your delivery. And I remember when I started, there was a couple of the guys were like, you can always hear Erik. He's always got this inflection at the end of his sentences, and he does this, and he just has a bit of fun with all of that. And seeing some of the other guys, so I'm going to pick on Jethro Nagel again, and if you get time, definitely, I can't remember what his podcast is called, but search Jethro Nagel. He does lots around road cycling, and if you're into cycling, we just want to hear someone different for a bit. Jethro Nagel and Tom McCracken, who's also done a bit of commentary work. But yeah, when they started, much the same as Matt Keenan when he first got on, some of us older blokes and ladies who have been listening and following the Tour de France for a long time. When Matt Keenan first got on, huge intellectual knowledge and memory, phenomenal. You just dig out all these stats and whatnot, but was boring to listen to and stumbled over his words at time, and that eloquence wasn't there. Obviously, he's developed into an incredible commentator that mixes all of that together. That personalities come out a little bit more, and works really well with someone who's a bit more lively. Worked really well with Robbie McEwen, of course, who really just says whatever comes out of that filter. Doesn't work quite as well for Robbie, a bit like me at sometimes, which comes back to him, Robbie, being a bit of a sprinter and just, what I want is what I'm going to do, and you're not going to stop me. Very, very sprinter attitude. And Robbie, if you are listening, I do love you, and I hope your family's going well. So yeah, it's like seeing. So going to talk about Jethro for a little bit. So at the start, he was a bit like Matt Keenan, and a bit start-stop, and would overthink what he says, and try and keep it about the cycling and the tactics and all of that. Whereas now you see him, and he gets really animated at the start-finish line, and he's waving his hands around and enthusiastic, and he's talking about people's feelings and how this would feel and how that would be, and if you did that, it'd do this, and like it really tells a story, and the development of that and seeing that just brings joy to my heart, and seeing him just being so passionate and openly honest about it. Like there's that sincerity there, which some people they just never find that. It's just, you can see the passion come through, the knowledge comes in there, and he's really turned into this quintessential road cycling commentator that just has that whole package. So at some stage, I hope in the next couple of years, you'll see him on SBS or TV or something like that. Someone will pick him up, because he is just an incredible find. It's what he wants to do, and mate, he's in the last 4 or 5 years come along in leaps and bounds. And the mountain bike race, if you ever have him on the show, which I'm sure he will at some stage, we worked together. First time he commentated, he was working at West Cycle, which was sort of at the time the WA governing cycling governing body, I suppose, and still does a lot of advocacy now for recreational type cycling and connections around the city. Anyway, so West Cycle ran an event called Kalamunda 100 from memory. So the Kalamunda, it's like a Grand Fondo type ride. So me and him were there, and he jumped on the mic, did quite well, which was great fun. And then mountain bike race I run, like, need a commentator. I'm going to be busy running the event, and got Jethro in, and he's always like, you got me started, Erik. That was my first paid gig, blah, 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 blah. So it was just really good to have him there and from the word go and see that development and give it a crack. Like if you want to do it, and this is I suppose how Tom McCracken has gotten his foot in more. Like he's just rocked up at local club races up in Perth or Peel or up at Splendid Park, and basically grabs the microphone and just starts commentating. Yeah, they've got the microphone there to do the ride briefings and whatever else, and it's been great. Tom's just grabbed the microphone, gotten into it, and shown that he's keen to do it. And it's, I suppose, a bit like getting any job. Like if you want to get a young kid want to get a job at a local shop somewhere, small business, you can drop your resume off all you want. But if you go there at 8:30 in the morning and help the local bike shop pull their bikes out, rock up at the end of the day, help them pull them back in. Do you want to get paid? No, I'm good. And just enjoy being here and all the rest of it. You show that sort of enthusiasm, and that's what leads to people taking you on and taking you seriously and believing that you're not just there for the money, but you're there because you love doing it. You've got a real passion for it. You're passion for the people, the community, the sport. Yeah, so that's really how to do it. There's obviously lots of tips technically about speaking and proper how to use a microphone. They're all semantics. It's your personality that you build and the relationships you build with the event crews and being professional. Obviously, being a bit of a larrikin, but being very professional about the way that you run it and being very transparent with what it's going to cost and invoicing and what you're providing. And after doing it for so many years, I suppose for me, a lot of it's just a given, and I need to maintain the level that I work at and the I suppose how hard I work at an event. And if at some stage that starts to slide and I just don't want to do it, like that'll just be the end. It'll just be like, look, I'm not going to do it half-assed. If I'm doing this, I'm giving you my all. So yeah, hope that helps.
Great to hear that it's the enthusiasm and the wanting to be there that actually is the driver behind it.
Oh, 100%. Like I said, it's a mini holiday every time I go away. Just the water rushing over your ears. It's just white noise. It's good. And again, relationships. It's all comes down to relationships and those bonds that you build. It might be with the event team, might be some of the riders that you turn up. There's a rider called Trent Sivior who is, in all honesty, brilliant guy, but at any event, like he's just one of the numbers. He just turns up, has a ride, has a smile on his face, and I've been seeing him at all sorts of events for many, many years. And much like you, is also into parkrun. So when he's been in Collie a couple of times, it's like, hello, like, do you do parkrun? He's like, yeah, I do parkrun. And travels, obviously, when he's on holidays, he'll go to the local parkrun and do that with his family, which is absolutely lovely to see. And building relationships with just random people like that, it's just gold. These are people that in my normal walk of life, like I just wouldn't meet. And to meet them and meet their families, a bit of their story of life and how they got to where they're going and what they're doing. And I might only see them 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, but after 5 years of seeing someone like Trent, it's great. And you rock up at an event and he's one of those people that you'll see out of the corner of your eye. It's like, oh, fantastic. He's here and he's doing whatever event I'm happen to be working at. And you have a bit of a catch up and a bit of a chat. That's really lovely. And there's lots of people that are like Trent that I don't catch up with. But yeah, sometimes you just end up bumping into each other and forming a friendship, which is lovely.
The whole event world really is all about doing that. If you get to more and more
100%.
events, you just end up meeting more and more people that you like.
Yep. So if you're struggling with friendships and mental health and that sort of stuff, get involved in events. It doesn't have to be cycling or mountain biking. It can be your local lawn bowls club. But yeah, building those relationships, just great for you, great for mental health, someone to talk to, someone to share things with. Yeah. So the events themselves, as much as some of them more than others are set up, obviously because they enjoy it, there's better ways to make loads of money than running events, I'll tell you that much. But obviously they're set up for profit. But the heart of the people running them is all about those relationships and building that community. And if you look at the bigger events like Cape to Cape or Dwelling Up 100, which are both the biggest of their type, well, Seven Gravel as well, Turamaga River as well, they're the biggest of their kind in the country, some of them biggest in the Southern Hemisphere. You know, that's all based on building that community, and it's something that Brendan and Rebecca from Turamaga River and Seven Gravel do really well. Their event crew is like a family, and over the years people have joined and then just not found their place in there, but other people who have been in that circle now for over a decade because they love it. It is genuinely a family. Dwelling Up 100 is the same. The event team there and the people that come from the Dwelling Up community to help out at that event. Carry Cup's been much the same. Jim Sale has built a great team over the years. Jim's sort of stepping back and Tori's taking that on, and that'll go from strength to strength. And there's a lot of community buy-in from the local community and from the cycling community as well, that, you know, it has memories attached to it as well. Carry Cup's one of the oldest running mountain bike races in the country. And everyone remembers camping on the oval some stage in the last 30 years with mates and having a dinner after the event. And yeah, like it's so much fun. Yeah, now I'm starting to reminisce.
Yeah, even though you're not racing, it still has a significant impact on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyone that is listening that has been involved in cycling or whatever sport over the years, if you're missing that community, get involved in the clubs, get involved in the events. Again, it doesn't need to be cycling. It could be footy, it could be soccer, it can be trail walking, I don't know. You pick it, get involved with your local association and get back into it. You don't have to be able to run a 40-kilometre, 42-kilometre marathon, but you can be part of the event team and deliver those events. And one, if you're in a motorsport, one really cool thing is that you could probably never afford a VIP ticket at the Formula One, but if you work at the local motorplex as a marshal and then basically do the training to get up there, there's a couple of people I know that work at Formula One on the corner or WA Rally Sports being marshals, and they have a better seat than anyone else at the entire event. And again, it's community. It's great.
It is. It's amazing. Well, thank you very much, Erik,
Absolute pleasure.
Being on the show. And all Forest.chat listeners wish you the best with your future endeavours.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Great to be on here. I'm sure we'll chat again about some other stuff.
Sounds wonderful. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Erik. You've been listening to Forest.chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode we talked with Erik Mellegers about being a commentator and quite a bit more. Remember, there are 4 ways to get involved with Forest.chat. Share the domain Forest.chat with your friends and family and people you meet. Listen to the episodes at forest.chat/episodes. If you do something interesting, book an interview at forest.chat/interview. If you want to support a small business, book an advert at forest.chat/advert. I'm looking forward to joining you with our next guest. Until then, enjoy making it happen.